All right, we are at the point in my coronavirus study where we are going to download our data. I think I have maybe about 60 sorts now from students, and that's plenty for a Q study. Looks like I have a pretty good variety. So now we're going to go to Firebase and we're going to download our file, and we're going to do it in a JSON file, right? And so we're going to click on menu, and then we're going to export that way. I haven't looked at this, so all right, what did I say? Menu. I want to go to menu. Menu, expand data, collapse data. Ah, there we go. Export to JSON. So we're going to export. And there is my file. I could download it there, but if I do this, I'm gonna have to set up a new system. Since PQ method, I'm used to having all my data all in one easy location. But here, right, I think I'm just gonna start saving it actually with my studies. I think that seems like a good idea. So there's my coronavirus in higher ed. Right, I don't have any other JSON files here, so we'll hit save and it's going to download. And now we're just going to say, right, show in folder because that's going to be important. And somewhere in here, oh, there's my Corona student text. That's the file that has all of my statements. It has to be a text file. And now we are ready to go to KenQ. So here I am at the KenQ website. I'm going to use the web application now that I've used it once to analyze some old PQ method data. So here I am, right? So when I used PQ method, right, I clicked on this and I uploaded my statement file and my data file, dat file, and now I'm going to use easy HtmlQ. I'm hoping that for this particular list of, right, I'm hoping that it doesn't have to be numbered because I did not number it, but we're going to find out. So I'm just drag that here, and it seems to go so fast because we're all used to other things. And then I'm going to take my JSON file, right, and I'm going to drag it over here. Right? I'm going to close this. Participant ID to display. Oh, we're going to have to take a little look-see here. All right, so did that. And now we uploaded. Oh, it doesn't even look like this quite anymore. And then I could, right, export it as a PQ method format dat file and just go from there, but I don't want to. Right, I want to do it all in KenQ. That's my, oh, there's my go. Good. I didn't need to do any numbers, right? So, and oh, I don't have any of these things, so we'll have to see. Oh, I don't know what's happening. ID to display. Oh, select ID. So maybe can we just do ID? And my project name is Corona. Well, actually, I called it COVID-19 response students. All right, so I just ID. There are 4 sorts. Oh, here we go. Oh, I think 92 participants. Wow, that's way more than I realized I had. So I'm going to come down here. There's all of my participants, and now I can begin my analysis. Here's my correlation matrix. Looks like I have some interesting results. So I could do centroid factors, and that's usually what I've done in PQ method, is just let it extract 7 and then kind of go from there. So here is what my factor matrix looks like. Looks interesting. And I've even though at the beginning I actually always did my analyses with PCA and Verimax, because that's frankly what I was used to doing a lot of R methodology stuff. But now I'm almost always a centroid and hand rotation person. So, we can look at these things. They're not really that important for us in Q methodology. Here's my scree plot.
Families are enduring right now.
It's kind of interesting.
And in this battle, during this critical moment in our history,
I don't know what's happening.
how we handle this will define.
I don't even know how that happened. There's my easy. That was easy HTML. This is just how to load the data, right? This happens to be a KenQ video that's actually also apparently on YouTube, but I digress. I don't know why it just started playing on its own. So maybe 3 factors, that seems to jive with our eigenvalues, but we'll see. I'm not so interested in that. And so I want to, let's see, we'll try 4, right? Oh, there we go, and we'll do judgmental, and let's do 1 and 2, display our factors. Right, so that's what that looks like. That's a fun time. Don't know that I want to do anything with that. I'm used to checking things out, and I'll probably still do that. I'll probably play around with all of this a bit. That's very interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that. All right, so maybe I think I'm good with that. Oh, here's my factor loading. So let's go down here before I play around anymore and just look at my auto flagging. And you notice that they're not in numerical order. They're actually in order. It looks like they're in order of factor loadings right now for factor 1. Can I come over here? And yeah, I can order it in just the order in which they appear. I could go over here, right, and look at things via factor 2. Look at factor 3. This is kind of an interesting. Factor 4. So these are the highest and or the lowest. So I have 1 on factor 4. That's not very interesting. Don't really seem to have much of anything going on factor 3. So right now it looks like I have a 2-factor solution. I could play around a little bit with this. Maybe I have some, right? So I might want to go and I happen to read a couple of these. So, so person 1 had a very positive outlook. So he might be an exemplar. So, we could play around a little bit with up here. Do judgmental, and let's do 2 and 3 just to see. Right. Oh, I must have some bipolar stuff maybe going on. And here's one of the things I like about KenQ particularly. Right, so I can look at these right now. I could actually go up here and I could click on factor 2 and this would help me look at some things relative between factor 2 and factor 3, for instance. So here we notice that, right, we have some interesting parallels between our 2 And that makes probably a bit of sense. So this must be the factor 2 axis. This is the factor 3 axis. So I could, just for kicks and grins, like I could do 10, and let's do counterclockwise. Right? And if I do that, we see how things change. Or I could go clockwise. And then it wants me to save my rotation. So it does remind me of certain things, right? So say I like this. Right? I could save my rotation and then we're just going to go down here and we're going to go back to auto flag. Still don't have my number 1 person on a factor. Makes me kind of sad. Right, so say that, and here's where I could invert a factor. So for instance, if I have a factor that is primarily negative loaders, which you don't actually seem to have, right? All inverting, it's just like PQ method. Just means I multiply by -1, so the positive loadings become negative, and the negative loadings become positive. General output. Let's see. Alright, so right now it looks like I have 2 factors. So we'll take a look at that. Hit submit. Right. And sure, and I'm going to download it as an Excel file. Or I can just, right, I can look at some of these, before I download. So for instance, I can come over here. Oh, I don't know what this is, but who doesn't want to click on things? Oh, look, isn't that cool? It's the composite Q sort for factor 1. Oh, I love this. I love this. Obviously, some of the longer text has problems, but we're not too much. So I could look at this results without printing everything out to an Excel file. So this is factor 1. I'm afraid of failing my classes. This is just the factor array. I'm feeling extremely fearful about the impact this will have on me academically. Right? It's impossible to replicate some learning experiences online, like art studios. I miss interacting with my peers and other students. I didn't realize how important face-to-face classes were to me until now. I'm having a difficult time keeping up with my classes now that they are online. Online environment or virtual classroom is just not conducive to learning. And then here, right, most disagree. I'm not worried about being successful. They are. I like using my phone. They don't like using their phone. They do not think having their classes online will make their life easier. The online version of the online versions of their face-to-face classes are not going well. Instructors do not seem rejuvenated. They don't think that the coronavirus ruined their college experience, but not by a lot. A little more on the neutral. They don't prefer online quizzes, right? So, but they do probably have tools, right? They're neutral about faculty doing the best they can. And then, right, that gives me the legend. Here is the composite for factor 2. I'm just focused on getting through the rest of the semester. It's impossible to replicate some learning experiences online, right? That's obviously the same as factor 1. I prefer online quizzes to paper quizzes, so that's that's obviously a distinguishing statement, and that's why it has the 2 asterisks. If we come down here, here's our legend, right? So distinguishing at p less than 0.01, right? They like the extended break. They like the convenience. It's very apparent which faculty were ready to move online. I'm not worried about being successful. I don't feel like I have the necessarily, this is disagree. Right? they right, they are techie. So these are the techier students. Their world has not been turned upside down. They're not worried about graduating on time. So, did not ruin their, right? And they actually kind of like it. So it'll be interesting to look at some of these comments. Right? So for right now, we'll say that I'm happy with this, right? And so I can say Excel file and then download. And there is my Excel spreadsheet. And I'll just download that. And I'll open it. And you can see all of the great things that are in here. Right? Project overview, statements, sorts, correlation matrix. What I really want to do is I want to see because I got all those comments. So I want to find, all right, I'm going to have to figure out how to get to the comments. But for now, right, this is actually pretty cool. All right, so where we left off was, I was like, where are the comments? Oh, but of course they're in the JSON file. Right, so here is sorter number 1. And notice that it looks just like it did in the website, right? And so I can click on here. And there's all of the things, right? So this person selected 12 and 17 as their most agree. And then, right, and 17, and then here's, all right, I'm not worried about my academics, and I wish our country was prepared during Christmas break for this virus, right? So this person actually is number 1, and I mentioned already that I thought that this would be a really good person to look at, but they didn't end up on a factor. They're kind of split between 1 and 2. I'm not sure what the DER things are, but here is our stuff from our form, right? So year they were born was 1998, right? Here we have form 1 is a 0. Oh, that should be the question about whether or not they were a college student, right? So, and these lines here, these are not the number of sorters. This is the lines basically of code. So let's see. So they are also a 0. So 0 here must be that they are a student. So I have to go back and look at my questions. So here, let me go dig out that file. I'll be back. I'll pause this for a second. Ah, that's what it is. It's male, female. So if I had to guess, I would guess female is 1 and male is 0. So I'm going to have to kind of decode some of our information. Shouldn't be terrible at this point. And so then our next one is I am a college student, undergrad or grad student. So I'm going to go back to my JSON file. And so, and that's a yes. And then form 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, it must be answer 5. So I have to go to, right, so male, female, yes. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this person is a grad student. And then we have major. So I might know who this is. So education. So it should be the second one, but we'll see. So, and then it's number 4. And then we have no response. Oh, that's their comments. And then we have, oh, and then I don't know what 8, 15, and 13 are. I don't know. And then here, our next person, 1992, it's a male. And they're a college student. 1, 2, 3, they're a junior. Right, no response for their comments. So I can look at each one of these. I'm going to have to figure out a little bit better system, right, to look at some of these comments. And especially perhaps just like when I have paper, which is what I'm totally used to, looking for people who had a lot to say about the actual. We have lots of no response for the sorting. Right? So perhaps I can find somebody who had something to say. Not too much. So I have no problem being at home. So these are where all of our comments are. So linking the comments with some of our other information, and then right looking for those exemplars, which is what I usually do for the hand rotation part. Right, that might take a little time for me to get used to doing that. So that's going to be my next challenge.